That's how we starting the show, man. We have a special show today for y'all, man. Welcome back to Meet Me on the 50. I'm your host, Eddie. We have a special edition, man, Director's Corner. None other than Dr. Thomas Jones from Hampton University, man. We got him on the show. He's in the waiting room right now. I can't wait to get him on. This is gonna be an epic show. I see we have 38 in here, man. We got to get this thing packed, man. I know you know how we do in here, man. So spread the word. You in here watching? Don't just watch. Spread it with your grandma, your auntie, everybody in the house with you, man. Let everybody know what we doing tonight. We got Dr. Jones in the building. That was the recruitment video from I want to say from last season. Let's get him on here, Dr. Jones. Here we go.
What's up, man?
What's going on, brother?
Nothing much.
Hey, welcome
Make the
to.
most of every day.
Yeah, I know we in trying times right now, man.
Yeah,
So yeah, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for accepting the invitation, man.
yeah.
I'm looking forward to chopping it up with you. We can really get into a lot everything about you, man. So that clip we just played, tell the people a little bit about that. I think you guys are on recruitment all throughout the nation. Where were y'all going to?
Yeah. So we were on our way down to the Honda Ballad Bands, and one of the things we started doing with our first invite back in 2018, we stopped at various high schools along the way, and we performed our show for them. And afterwards, we did a meet and greet with the high schoolers after we, did everything we needed to do. And they were really receptive to that, and we got a lot of good recruits by using that tactic. So this year, that video you saw was from us stopping at various high schools again and doing our thing, kind of, and it also helped out with us fine tuning the show and let us get some reps in and all that good stuff. So
Yeah, yeah, and I like how you had the jump cuts from each different performances, man. That was dope. So you guys went to different cities on the way to Atlanta, pretty much.
oh yeah, yeah,
Oh, that's dope. That's dope, man. So you know, get the people a little bit. We call it the band facts. Give us a little bit about Dr. Jones, man. What I was going to do was I showed you that clip from the old Hampton days, man. I was going to say, look, this is where you started from right here, man. But I couldn't get it uploaded or whatever, man. But get the people a little bit about your background. Just yeah, who are you? Some of your instrumentation that you play. Just
yeah,
a little bit of your band facts, man.
yeah. So my band story is a little non-traditional.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't join the band because I thought it was cool. I joined the band in fifth grade because I wanted to get out of class. I was a bit
Mm.
of a bad kid in the fifth grade, and back then everybody was in the same class all day, and me being the type of kid I was, I just needed to get out. So they said Monday, Wednesday, Friday afternoons you get to get out of class. I was like, sign me up, and my first instrument was baritone. And I remember being frustrated because I couldn't even get a sound out of the instrument because,
Good.
back then, again, they just handed me the instrument, and I didn't care. I took it home and I was trying to blow air through it, and I thought it was broken. And then when I
Mm-hmm.
finally got the buzz going, I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. And then that's how it started. I was still a bad kid though, got in trouble. I remember I got called down to the principal's office because I stuck a pen in the pencil sharpener and kind of ruined it. And then, yeah, so my dad, he was in the Air Force at the time. So he had to come from work. He was in uniform and came and pulled me out of class. And he was like, get your instrument.
Mm.
And so I was out of band for a little while. But the following, the next semester, I got back in the band. And that's when I picked up trombone, and that's kind of where things really changed because I didn't know anything about ear training or anything. So ever since I picked up trombone, I had this inclination to hear everything around me and try to match pitches and try to play by ear basically.
Yeah.
And that's really what got me going through band because again this was back when there weren't really many resources available. We couldn't go online and play music. It had to be where I had to listen to a song and learn
Mm-hmm.
how to play it. And that's
Mm-hmm.
that's how I learned how to play. And that kind of carried me throughout high school and into the beginning of college. Um, And towards the end of high school, that's really when I started arranging. Um, First songs I arranged were by the Fugees, Fuji La and whatnot, and that kind of progressed, and we'll get into this about how Barney Smart recruited me out of high
Yeah,
school.
right.
But so when I got to college, it was my first experience with HBCU bands. So I was now in a situation where I was playing music that I would normally hear off the radio, which was something new because I came from the, you know those type of bands.
Core
So
style, core style. What
yeah.
what high school program did you play for?
So I actually went to a lot of different schools, from ninth grade to on. Well,
Right,
really
yeah.
throughout my whole school
Because your
career.
dad was in the military because he traveled a lot. Right,
Yeah,
right, right.
so in ninth grade, I was in Fayetteville, North Carolina. I went to Albritton Junior High. I was set to go to E.E. Smith, and then my birth mother, who I was staying with at the time, she moved, and I ended up going to Douglasburg, and it was a lot going on. And then
Yeah.
I ended up after my dad retired, they settled in Hampton, so I went to I went to high school. The last portion of my high school career was in Hampton at Kickintan High School. So
Yeah, so
that was,
before we get to that point, so I mean, wait, you mentioned that the baritone was the first instrument, and you got the trombone. Like, what was the inspiration? Maybe I missed that part. What was your inspiration to even get into band?
no, it was just like I said. It was no other reason than just trying to get out of
Trying to
class.
stay out of trouble too, right?
Not even that.
Oh, okay, okay.
I just wanted to get out of class. That was the only reason why I joined the band.
Yeah.
And it was no kind of existential thing where I just felt a calling to music. I didn't really have a musical family like that. Nobody played instruments, so I wasn't around that. It was just okay. Get out of class.
Yeah.
I'm a bad kid. Down for it. Let's do it.
Well,
That,
good thing about that though is, man, it seemed like you come from a diverse background as far as different types of bands. So, how do you think that helped mold you, today? I mean, we're kind of fast forwarding a little bit, but I mean, you
yeah.
touched on different from core style to show style to all types of bands. So,
Yeah. So one of the good and bad things was that my high school director, for about a year before he left at Kickintan High School, was Kenneth Bolliford. He uh, he is now the director of bands at Jacksonville State University. And if you know Jacksonville State, they have like a 400-piece band.
phenomenal band.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and he also directs the Spirit of Atlanta Drum Corps, or Spirit now, or he was over them for a while. I'm not sure if he's still with them. But so, with that being said, he exposed me to a lot of drum corps, and that was my first time really hearing what could be done musically in a marching band setting. I remember having a cassette tape of the 1988 DCI finals, and the first corps on that tape was Madison Scouts, and they actually ended up winning the championship that year. And I would play it back over and over again, listening to different things within it, and that kind of really sparked my interest in marching band. But on the flip side, I was never exposed to what HBCU bands had to offer.
Yeah.
And, and this could be a topic for another day, but a lot of schools like that don't really push HBCU bands as an option. So it wasn't until Barney Smart came to my high school. We were in the All City Band, doing some performance with All City Jazz Band. And our jazz band director, he was in the Air Force, and for whatever reason, he couldn't make it to the performance. So Barney Smart guest conducted, and afterwards, he talked to me a little bit, and then that kind of sparked that relationship. And then it didn't hurt that two members from Kickintan graduated 2 years before me. One of which was Barney Smart's son. So I actually went to high school with his son, and so that kind of started the whole discussion about, hey, this is what an HBCU band is, but I didn't really have any materials to go off of. All I could do at the time was go see them in person. So This was back in the CIAA days of Hampton, and they were like whooping up on some team like 70-0 or whatever it was. And so the band was just playing, but they had gotten to a point where they just started singing the fight song and not even playing. But I stayed for the fifth. They played afterwards, and when I heard them play, I was blown away because that was my first time hearing, something like that in person.
Yeah.
And then, as HBCU band directors do, they keep the conversation going. He talked to me. It was phone calls back in the day.
Yeah.
And I didn't even apply to Hampton until like March of that year. And Hampton ended up being the only school I applied to. And, Mr. Smart, he was like, okay, what's your SAT score? Boom, I'll get you a presidential scholarship, this, that, other. And, next thing I knew, I was there in band camp in August. And it kind of took flight from there. And there, that's when I kind of started to get more of that spark, listening to Al Davis's arrangements and really combining that with my own ear training over the years and, kind of progressing. And that's kind of, where it really started.
So, I do want to kind of touch on that somewhat. So you mentioned about the because it made me have a flashback. So I come from a similar background where my high school director was from traditional core style, college. He went to IUP, I think it was, Indiana University of Pennsylvania, and they have a good program, it's for what they do. But I had always wanted to march for HBCU, so I ended up, applying to several schools, but my dad wanted me to stay local in Maryland, so I ended up going to Morgan State. And had a great time there. Awesome band, awesome experience. But what I remember was coming back to that high school to kind of talk to the kids and pitch the program to them. And you kind of got a feeling that they saw it more as a novelty. And the way that he was like, "Oh, you guys can dance and everything." So it's more than about that, though. So you mentioned about the high schools and how they don't really push HBCUs.
Even now. I visit a diverse selection of high schools. I don't just go to, the quote unquote HBCU style high schools. I go to all over. And, sometimes you get that feeling when you walk into a band room that the director is just accommodating you, but not really welcoming you. And, it's one of the challenges of this job. But at the same time, we're able to pull a lot of good students out of that type of setting. We got a really good trumpet player from that type of setting, and a couple really good students from those types of settings.
Yeah,
and, students that would otherwise not be exposed to that sort of culture, just because the band directors themselves have these preconceived notions and, dare I say, prejudices.
Yeah, but you talk about specific markets, man, and just by Hampton formerly being in the MEAC and now in the whole different conference, the Big South Conference, it has got to open up doors, doors that weren't previously there, as far as exposure for the program, and like you mentioned, different programs that typically wouldn't even have known about or thought about attending, like a Hampton or something like that. So. What's been your experience so far being in that new conference?
Right. And like I said about the preconceived notions, you get a lot of band directors that think HBCU bands, oh, those are just those dancing bands. They play loud and they sound bad. And then when we get in front of them, we sound better than their band. And their crowd, their audience is cheering for us more than they are for their own band. And I got a lot of this at A&T when we used to go to the PWI schools, where they were like, the audience members at that host school were like, oh, I wish our band was like that. And you're starting to see a trend. It started maybe 5-7 years ago, where a lot of these PWI bands are starting to adopt those same things that they used to speak against. They used to call HBCU bands, oh, those dancing bands.
Right.
Now you have PWI bands doing dance routines.
Crazy, right?
and it's very obvious where the influence comes from. And so, with that being said, coming into the Big South, we already bring a fresh new kind of flavor that the audiences are going to gravitate towards. So, you want to say that music is music, but at the end of the day, the audiences want to be entertained, and the goal of HBCU bands has always been to put a good show on the field and entertain. And for a lot of people who have never seen an HBCU band before, it's a type of product that they didn't even know they needed. It's like when the iPhone first came out, or hammer phones, or these things that are brand new to the market that today you can't even imagine life without them. So for those audiences to see us for the first time, they're really blown away, and they want more. And that's actually been a breath of fresh air to us and our culture. And I think as we see first Hampton and then A&T moving into the Big South, I think it's going to change things a lot. And both of our bands are going to do really well, and we're going to get a lot of recognition, and it's going to open up doors to recruitment, because now that we're part of that conference, it's not, we don't carry the stereotype of being a Black only band, and one of the things we're trying to do is build the diversity within our band, and this move to the Big South is going to help us with that.
Yeah. So, we talked about you as a bandsman, but you definitely exceeded that. So what made you want to become, a director of bands? What led you to that point?
Yeah. So when I was at Hampton, we have this thing called Hbcu, which is our Hampton University Summer High School Band Camp. And this was when I was drum major, where over the summer we host a week-long band camp, and the section leaders, drum majors, serve as camp counselors. So being in that position as a drum major, now rehearsing a band of high schoolers, that kind of really set off something where it was like, wow, this is pretty cool, being on the podium and actually rehearsing the band, and not just doing the musical part, but actually helping them out logistically, helping them get to their dorms, showing them where the calf is. It kind of really set the tone for the idea that being a band director is much more than what you do on the podium. And being a drum major, that taught me a lot. And then after undergrad, I ended up in Brooklyn with the Brooklyn Steppers marching band. And I kind of got lucky in getting that job, because Tyrone Brown, who was the director up there, he was a former student who was then at Hampton, referred me to him, and he was like, okay, send me a couple of arrangements. They liked it, and they were like, okay, well, do you want to be on staff? And I was like, sure, why not? I took a leap of faith, moved to New York, rented a car, packed it up, and found a place to live, and kind of just started from scratch up there. But it was seeing those students come from different backgrounds. We basically took students off the streets. It was just like, hey, what are you doing after school? Nothing. Okay, come over here. I want you to join the band. Well, I don't know how to play an instrument. That's fine. We'll teach you how to play an instrument. And taking somebody like that, giving them the encouragement to graduate high school and then to go off to college in an area where the culture was not driving them that way. It was life-changing for me, being able to do something that was greater than myself. And that kind of really got me thinking, okay, well, maybe I can make this a career. Maybe I can do more with it. And then again, getting lucky, getting referred to be down at A&T. Started out arranging, and fortunately, Dr. Kenneth Ruff, he had the vision to say, hey, okay, we're going to bring you in, and we're not just going to put your arrangements in front of the band. We're going to put you on the podium and let you shape and mold the arrangements based off of what's in your head, and really bring things to life. That really, took it to the next level. And everybody knows the story about A&T over the past 10 years, about how the band has grown and really increased in prominence.
Yeah.
And that, for me, being a part of that staff that was working together and aligned in a common goal, it, again, next level. It was like, okay, what's next? How can I better serve this culture? How can I better serve the students? And again, me getting lucky, getting a call saying, hey, there's a position open up. It was actually our alumni band president at the time, Mr. Justin Langley. He called me up. He was like, "You're not going to apply?" I was like, "Apply for what?" And the job opening, and it was like 4 or 5 months into it, and I applied like the day before the posting closed.
What?
Yeah. So yeah, I really lucked into it.
Do you know what other names were on that list, or do you?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if they would want me to say, but
no, I don't want to know their names. I just want to know, like,
okay. It was a very good high school director out of Atlanta, a very good arranger director out of Alabama. Yeah, it was a great list of candidates.
So you're there now, and everybody knows Hampton is heavily in tradition. Mr. Barney Smart, man, his presence is still there, heavily, So my question to you would be, how does Dr. Jones bring something, of his own, but still maintain those strong traditions that Mr. Smart had put in place?
Yeah. So with Mr. Smart being such an influence, and I'm the type of person where I'm not gonna go into your office and pick your brain and say, hey, what's this? What's this? What's this? I look at how you act and I emulate. That's how I actually got better at arranging, was not from asking Mr. Al Davis, how do you arrange, but more so listening across the band room. And one of the things I used to do is probably bad, but I used to play. I was on trombone at the time when I first joined the band. I used to play all the mellophone parts, and
they didn't know, they couldn't hear you doing that.
Well, and so at the time, Hampton's mellophones used French horn mouthpieces. So they had a very dark sound. And one of the things I used to work on was changing the timbre of my horn, opening up the sound so that it could blend with the mellophones so that I wouldn't get caught. So that was kind of my thing. But it was through that I learned how counter melodies worked within the songs.
Yeah.
And Al Davis is a master at it. And
I just had a quick flashback, man. So change the gears real quick. 98. What year did you come to Hampton?
96.
96. So you were still there in 98 then?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you remember a trip to Morgan State? Y'all came to our house and y'all played the song in the stands. Do you wanna ride? And y'all did the whole little thing. Yeah. I was like, y'all so disrespectful over there. Y'all sounded good though, man. Y'all sounded good, man. Yeah. You remember that game? You probably know, it's a while ago, but
yeah, I remember playing that. It was probably really cold that day too.
I think it wasn't. It was late fall. Yeah, it was.
Yeah. But yeah, so like just studying what Al Davis did, studying how Barney Smart arranged, and let's not get it twisted. Barney Smart used to arrange some tunes. He used to really put some stuff on paper. So I would listening across the band. Okay, what are the trumpets playing here? Let me hear that sousaphone part. Okay, and I would internalize that, and kind of just like put it in my little tool bag, and I would try, as I was experimenting, arranging on my own, I would try to incorporate some of that. So if you listen to my arrangements today, I like to see them as a progression from what those two arranged. So that kind of really set the tone for what I wanted to add to the band. Barney Smart, he came from a diverse background himself. Alabama State, Alabama A&M, University of Michigan, and then inherited a band that was directed by a FAMU alum. So he had to take all these different styles and mold them, but his number one emphasis was making quality music. All right, and in doing that, he really stressed fundamentals. He stressed the fundamentals of the individual musician, and that's one of the things that I've taken and really focused on and tried my best to take and progress to another level, was that focus on the individual musician, where they should not rely on the person next to them to hold it down. A lot of times in arranging, you'll get the whole mellophone section, for example, playing the same thing, same unison line, 16 mellophones all playing the same thing. But one of the things I do is I split my mellophone background parts into 3-part harmony, so that it's almost like what you would see in a choir, for example. So, but that then forces the musician to, again, like I said, not rely on the person next to them. So when I first got to Hampton, for example, we just had 3 mellophones, and so whenever they had the melody, they all played the same thing. But whenever they're playing background parts, they're playing 3-part harmony, 3 mellophones, 1 on each part. So now they have to listen to each other and not try to play over each other. They had to play with balance. And that year, the mellophone section, the 3-person mellophone section, was one of the strongest sections in the band, because they played together and they listened to each other, and they made good harmony with each other. So those are some of the little nuances and attention to detail things that I try to bring.
Yeah, things that you bring. So I want to get into a little bit of your military experience, and how that transition and translates to the band work. But before we do that, there's a cause, that's your pretty much an initiative that you're pushing. And I have a website up. You guys have it. It's called. Let me go pull it up here. You're going to incorporate some PT every day. It seems like, huh?
Yeah.
All right. So what I'll pull up here is the supportthemarchingforce.com.
Yep.
Let me share the screen. But go ahead and talk it up a little bit, Doc.
Yeah. So this is kind of unofficial, but sort of official news that as you know, we were invited to the 2020 Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. However, with the whole pandemic going on, they've had to reimagine the parade, as they said. And so what they've told the directors of the bands is that our invites will be deferred to the 2021 parade. And with that being said, we are now raising funds for next year. However, this performance is not university funded. So however many hundreds of thousands of dollars we have to raise, about $300,000 we have to raise, we have to do it on our own. So as of today, we are not getting any funding from the university to make this happen. And we have to do it on our own. And this is actually the first time, this is my 3rd time in the Macy Parade, but the first time that we've had to actually ask the students and the community to help raise funds for us. So, one of the things I'm trying to do is challenge myself a little and get on social media, get on YouTube, and do something that's a little bit different to raise awareness and give me a little bit bigger of a platform to share the stories of our students. So I'll be running a 5K. I'll be running 5 kilometers, 3.1 miles every day, the 5K every day for the next 5 months, starting next Monday, August 31st. And what we plan to do is record each of these runs. Mr. Cox, Clifford Cox, the assistant band director, and Mr. Alexander Hamilton, they are helping record. They'll be like on bikes behind me with a GoPro. So we'll make a video, and through each video, we'll highlight a student, and we'll kind of share their story, give their Instagram info, and we'll also, if we can get enough businesses to sponsor us, like if we can get them to send me a T-shirt or something, I'll wear that T-shirt during that run. And throughout it all, I'll be, again, raising awareness, and hopefully we can get the news involved, and kind of build that publicity up. There was a director a couple of years ago did something similar where he ran a certain number of miles, and I know PJ.
I was going to mention PJ, right?
Mm-hmm. He's doing 800 miles. I think he was on live today.
He was. Yeah, he's already in Mississippi. Tupelo, Mississippi.
Yeah, so it underscores the lengths to which most directors will go for their students, especially on the HBCU level, because when it involves us, it's a little more personal, because and again, this is one of the things I really got from Barney Smart, was that he really was invested in the individual student. So one of the things at Hampton, when I'm recruiting, I say we treat you like an individual and not a number. Mm-hmm. A lot of schools, they'll see you come in, and okay, you'll be one of 70 trumpets or whatever. My brother went to James Madison University, marched in band there, and he started there in 1997. I started at Hampton in '96, and it blew my mind that he didn't know everybody in his section, because there were just so many, and they didn't see it like that. The culture was different.
Band is family. Band is definitely. I was talking to actually PJ about this, man, on how this COVID thing going on. It's bigger. It's bigger than just band. And somebody even left a status on Facebook saying how we don't see how much the directors are also suffering from not being around their kids. And the connection is deep. And you mentioned PJ Howard and the efforts that he's making on this. He's walking 800 miles, y'all. Mm-hmm. Well, that's crazy. So
it goes to show that like you said, it's a family, and there's an investment in these students that goes far beyond band. And when I was in Brooklyn, it was serious, to the point where we had to make sure that the students were getting home safe. We had to make sure the students were treated right. Mm-hmm. I remember one time we had a student who could not play his trumpet anymore as we were going to nationals, because he was the victim of domestic abuse, and had his jaw wired shut. Mm-hmm. And as a director, as somebody that cares about the students on a personal level, you take that home with you.
Yeah.
And so when you carry that over the course of a career, it becomes more personal, and it makes you want to do anything you can possibly do to help the students, even if it's, whether it's helping them get registered, or, helping them get out of a bad situation.
Exactly.
Because, like I tell the directors, we're out here saving lives. Yeah. We might not be running into a burning building, but at the same time, we're setting our students on a path that's going to keep them away from the other path that's going to, possibly end their life. And we've seen, I think most HBCU directors can tell you that there's always a kid out there that they couldn't save. and we keep going, whether it's 800 miles, 5K a day. We do whatever we can to save who we can.
And that's my biggest concern with this off season, so to speak, because leadership in the band programs a lot of times are some of the only positive figures that these kids are going to see. And by them being wherever they are now, at home or wherever it may be, it could be in a worse situation. It very could well be. So that's my concern with the kids not being back at school, and I'm hoping this thing picks back up in the spring and we're back to normal, so to speak. So talk a little bit about your experience in the military. I know you're currently in the Army, or are you
Yeah.
done?
Yeah, I'm currently in the Army Reserve.
Mhm.
I joined in 2007, and um, I, my job in the Army is I am a psychological operations team leader. Basically, what that does, that entails, is going out into the foreign cultures and trying to win hearts and minds, essentially. So we'll get out there and talk to the locals via interpreter, and kind of what we say, change, persuade, influence their behaviors and all that stuff. And I also served as a drill sergeant as well in the Army. And
Let me see the knife hand, man. There it is.
yeah, so like my Army experience, it's paralleled with my band experiences, and I think that's by design because marching bands, as we know them, come out of the Army, come out of the military, so
Yeah.
a lot of the things are the same. But for me, I would say that the biggest influence in my life would be my deployments to both Iraq and Afghanistan. So I was in Iraq in 2009, 2010. I literally left Honda 2009 with A&T, and the next week I was off to Iraq. So, and
What year was that?
2009, 2010.
Okay, I was in
Yeah.
Iraq from 03 to 04, so I was in the early phase.
Yeah, so you got to experience all the fun.
Yeah, exactly. That's some
Yeah,
fun. Yeah,
yeah.
good
So,
stuff, man.
and then I was in Afghanistan from 2011, 2012. But the thing with me actually going out on missions, on these combat patrols, and interacting with the locals, you got to see, like, in their faces, you got to see a different side of the world. Like CNN, they like to portray a certain thing, but a lot of soldiers, they'll tell you, it's not like what you see on the news.
At all.
And you find,
Yeah.
and you find that, in a lot of ways, the people over there are just like us. They want to be safe. They're honorable. They want to take care of their families. And we had a subset of demographic called military age males, where they were old enough to pick up an AK and start fighting.
Yep.
And it just happens to be that that's the same demographic over here that we recruit for the band. So you see a military age male over there, and you're like, wow, he has nothing for him other than this. They don't know what marching band is. They don't know what music is. They don't know what college is. And then if it's a female, their life is being groomed to get married off to somebody. And that's it. And then you get back to America, and you see all the trivial stuff that we deal with, all the pettiness, all the things that we really take for granted. And that really struck a chord with me. I remember one time in 2009, we got hit with a rocket attack, and 3 guys died. They were just standing around.
Man.
It just happened to be that they were in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Man.
And it really makes you put things into perspective.
It does.
Yeah,
It does.
and it's like, whether it's through war,
Yep.
whether it's through gang violence, whether it's through police brutality,
Yeah.
this life you have can be taken in an instant.
I remember going there, like I said, in '03. I remember before that year, it was leading up to that year, man, I was taking so much for granted. You know, I can care less about, just connecting with family and it just, but I remember being there and remember how I said, you know what, this is as worse as it can possibly get. You know, I'm laying on the ground. I hear mortar rounds going off. I'm getting bit by sand fleas and everything else. It's just, well, how worse, how much more can it get? Worse can it get? So I said, when I get back, and I had a craving for Taco Bell the whole time I was there. I'm like, I don't know, I don't even like Taco Bell. To this day, I can't stand it. But that's what I
We,
wanted was a damn chalupa. I said, when I get home, I'm eating a chalupa, and I'm getting in the bath in my own bed. It's like your bed, things like that. You
yeah,
take for granted, man.
we,
So
we, we actually had a Taco Bell over there,
get
but
out of here.
but the meat wasn't the same.
It's
So
camel. You eating
yeah,
camel tacos, man.
it wasn't quite right.
It
So,
wasn't right, man.
but
But I
yeah,
agree with you 100%, man. When you get back, it's something you go through something like that.
yeah,
They call it PTSD, whatever you want to call it, but it's something that changes in you, and you take everything in going forward, man. Full speed. So I can see that you're passionate about what you do, and you were changed because of that too, just like I was, man. So awesome stuff, bro. Um, let's see here, Band Media, man. So talk a little bit about how'd you get
okay,
into that? You go
okay.
from
Well, again, so me doing all this experimenting, me playing mellophone parts. One of the things that I used to do in the band also was try to joke around with the way I was playing,
Mhm.
not just playing mellophone parts, but just screwing around. And back then, obviously, we didn't have uh, video cameras on our phone. So what I had was a cassette recorder, and I used to record myself playing, and that was that was just my form of entertainment. Either listening to me play mellophone parts and or screwing around. I would go back, pop the tape in the car, and,
Yeah.
drive to the calf or whatever, just listening. But then it progressed to me wanting to record the band. And this was back 1996, 97. And again, they didn't have obviously camera phones and whatnot.
Mhm.
So, and Hampton at the time didn't allow video cameras into Armstrong Stadium.
Mhm.
So all we could do was audio record, unless you were like the official media team for the band. But they had their whole big camera setup. But I would give I had a mini disc player, but I didn't have a microphone, so I used a pair of headphones as
What?
the microphone, and and I would give it to the managers, march in, and then set it up and listen, record the band playing. And, I would, again, listen, critique, and whatnot. And that's kind of how I got started. And then,
Mm.
when I finally did get a video camera, I would, again, set it up and record the band or have somebody record halftime from the sideline. And then I would go back. I would edit. This was back in the early days, where nobody could afford Final Cut. It was like the regular stuff. I would, try to edit and
Yeah.
build off of that. But it wasn't until, well, I recorded A&T, the Mary J show in 2008, and then recorded the Usher show at Honda in 2009. Then I went to Iraq, and during my downtime, I would research different ways to record, to try to get better sound because I didn't like the sound that came on the camera, especially in the Georgia Dome at the time.
Mm.
And that video is still up there. It's very boomy, and so my thing was, okay, what can we use to record sound? And then I started looking into Final Cut, and then getting different cameras and external audio Zoom recorder. And so in 2010, at the Queen City Valley Bands, that was our first time using it. It was me and Harvey Thompson. We set up a camera up top, we set up a Zoom microphone, and we had a couple cameras on the side. And then I took everything, synced it up manually
Mhm.
in the editing software, and that show, that Queen City show 2010, was our first attempt at doing that. So we were probably the first to do multiple cameras angles with external audio, and people at the time didn't even, they thought it was fake. They thought we were, they were like, when the scene changes, why doesn't the sound change? I mean, there were all
Yeah.
these conspiracy theories. Then went to Afghanistan, researched some more, and then that's where we started using that array setup where we have the microphones up on the side, kind of like what drum corps does. And again, more and more research, and then that's kind of really how I started progressing into it. And I would me, Harv, we would try different things, and it was a lot of experimentation going on with trying to get the look right, and how to shoot better and everything. And it was, we were really breaking new ground at the time, and just trying to do something new.
Yeah, yeah. So your talents have always been in the band. Like, have you ever freelanced as a photographer or videographer on the outside of band, or?
Yeah. Actually, I actually got my start doing photography.
Mm,
Um,
okay.
when I was in high school, my mother had a little Minolta camera, where
Okay.
film camera, and it just happened to be that I took pretty good pictures with it because I used to read up on composition, and rule of thirds and all this stuff. And
Yeah.
then when I got to Hampton, I eventually got a better camera, and I was I used to be that guy walking around campus just taking pictures of the waterfront, or asking people if I could take pictures of them, or if there was an event like a step show, I would take pictures of that. And that's kind of, again, how I got started. So what one of the things that I stress with anybody trying to start out in video is that you have to start out in photography first. You know,
You gotta learn how to frame and how to compose a shot.
yeah,
Definitely,
yeah.
definitely.
So yeah, that's how it started. Me taking pictures here and there,
Yeah,
and just trying to learn, and then eventually applying that to video.
yeah, yeah. So how important do you think band media is in today's band world?
It's it's right up there with the quality of music,
Mm,
because you can have the best sounding band, but in this digital age, if you're not putting a good product out there on social media, then you're not going to get the recognition. You're not going to get the recruitment, and I'm glad that you asked that, because that really helped us at Hampton when I first got here in 2017, because there was no real media presence. So we in 2017 we did the same setup that we had at A&T, and when the students saw the video for the first time, a lot of them have been in the band for 2-3 years at the time. They were like, wow, this is what we sound like. Okay, we sound pretty good.
yeah,
And the look of it, they were like, okay, now we have to step it up. So it's on both ends. On one end, you are presenting yourself to the wider audience on social media, but on the other end, on the internal, you're critiquing, and you're listening to yourself, and you're using it as a quality tool to be like, okay, we're a little pitchy here, we're a little out of tune, we got to get our legs up, because you can't hide. One of the things we said at A&T was that you can't hide from the media team. And being able to look at it through that lens, so to speak,
yeah.
it forces you to step your game up more.
Yeah, I think we had a couple of offline conversations. Now, I really didn't understand the setup, and you broke it down as far as the different mic setups, man. Like I think a couple of years ago, that's when I
Yeah.
first saw it. I was like, "What the hell is this?" But I think we spoke a few times on that, man, and you definitely helped make sense of it. So I think that, but even if a band isn't doing all that, I think it's important because believe it or not, there are still some bands who don't see the importance and the need of a presence online, man. In 2020, I don't understand it, but
Yeah.
um, I don't think you can thrive in this climate without that presence, man. So, what I want to do right now, if any of your staff or anybody's in the comments Well, you want to just shout them out, man. You know, who's helping you run the marching force, man?
Yeah, so our assistant directors are Mr. Clifford Cox II and Mr. Alexander Hamilton II. Our dance coach is Miss Brent Martin. Our flag coach is Miss Megan McKinney. Our majorette coach is Miss Tanisha King Weston. And we have alumni ambassadors, Mr. Justin A. Langley Sr. He is alumni ambassador, and our announcer, Dr. Richard Mason. He's also alumni ambassador, and our resident counselor, and Mr. Joe King. He's alumni ambassador and our academic advisor. And what our alumni ambassadors do, they reach out to the alumni and they say, okay, the band's coming to town. You know, can we set up a dinner, or you want to do a meet and greet? You know, they are like that liaison that helps us out.
Yeah.
And then, also on staff, we have Mr. Keon Galloway, who was from A&T, who came to help with percussion. Mr. Chalmers Red, coming from North Carolina as well. Mr. Kedrick James, who assists us with media team. Mr. Alex Somar, who, again, a student from A&T, who is now our chief arranger. Mr. Daryl Miles, who is our official photographer. And our grad assistants, Miss Quincy Rice, Miss Tanita Nelson, and Mr. Dorian Black, and our drum major coordinator, Mr. Reginald Baker.
That's funny. Well, yeah. Real quick, man. Thank you, Donald Donaldson, for bringing this up, because I was definitely going to, man. What are you the mastermind behind the marketing and branding behind the band? Because it's so clean, man. Like, yeah, the branding. When you see Hampton's branding and marketing, just the presentation of it is so clean, man.
I'm not gonna take full credit for it, but when I got here, one of the things that we agreed that we needed to do was to give the band a facelift. So we have an old logo. You know, we said, oh no, we need a new logo design. So Miss Renita Leonce, who was one of our former students from the Brooklyn Steppers, I contacted her and said, hey, you know, can you take this existing logo and redesign it? And so we did that. We set up our social media accounts, and we basically we really started this band program in 2017. It was like a reboot, you know, just like a movie where, you know, you take the existing product and you kind of update it. And that's what we did.
Yeah.
You know.
Outstanding, man. So speak to the kids a little bit, man. You know, let's say I'm sure there are kids watching this right now, planning on attending a college university band program next spring, next fall. What what are they getting? You know, they come to Hampton University. What are they getting out of this band program, being under your leadership?
Yeah, definitely the most important thing is the academic experience. All right. I try not to knock it, because, you know, I'm not going to dictate what other bands, how other bands want to operate, but at Hampton, academics is number one. You know, Hampton costs way too much for somebody to be coming in and fooling around. And also, with that said, when I got to Hampton, they basically said, we want you to increase the band size to 200 members. It was at 60 at the time. Wow. We want you to increase the band size to 200 members and do it in 3 years. And, we're not going to change the budget at all. So,
what year was this? That you got there, 2 years ago?
3 years ago. 2017.
Wow, you made it happen, man.
And I was already in year one. I got there. I started on August 1st. So that was the first year. So
no prep time. No, because you were there for that. Yeah, so that fall counted as the first year.
Yeah. So one of the things that we had to do was to reach out amongst campus and say, okay, who's the financial aid director? You got any money over here? Okay, there's something here. Who's the dean of admission? Turns out the dean of admission, Dean Angela Boyd, she is actually a former majorette from the band. So I was able to, you know, meet with her and talk band, you know, and say, okay, this is what we want to do. What can you do to help us? You know, she wants more recruits for the university. I can get you those recruits. but I need something to sweeten the deal. So she's like, okay, well, if you get the ones with high SAT scores and high GPAs, then I can give them some academic money, even though they might be after the qualification date. So what we did was we targeted those high performing students, because after a while it became apparent that if you were a student, and this is not a knock, but if you were a student, with less than 900 on your SAT or 2.5 GPA, chances were very slim that we were going to get you, even if you were a good player, because you were probably getting offered full tuition, full ride to some other school, in-state tuition to some other school. And the most we could give you was a couple $1,000s for band. Yeah. And you got to come out of pocket another $30,000.
Hampton ain't cheap.
Yeah. Hampton's about $42,000 a year now. Yeah. So we had to strategize and say, okay, these are the pool of students that we can get on academic scholarship. And with that being said, they have to now keep their academic scholarship.
Right.
If you're getting a $25,000 scholarship to a $42,000 school, you can't afford to lose that, because if you lose that $25,000, that means you're probably not going to come back to school.
Right.
So, we really stress the importance of academics. One of the things at A&T that we used to say that I brought to Hampton was school, band, and everything else. We always focus on school first. Sometimes you might have to focus on band a little more if it's a busy week, but academics was always the big thing. So whenever somebody's coming to Hampton, that's what they're getting. They're getting that academic focus. And hold on, my lights are on a timer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. All right. So,
awesome.
So they get that academic focus, and with that being said, the goal is to get you to graduation. All right. The goal is not to build a big band of 150 freshmen every year, 200 freshmen every year, 25 of which come back the next year. There's a lot of bands out there with a lot of turnover, and we can't afford that. We have to get the students and keep them. So we have academic programs in place. Like I said, we have an academic advisor on our staff, and we really stress that. So, and again, in addition to that, we also like to do a lot of traveling as well. We went to Rome in 2018. Our drummers went to Pasadena for the Rose Parade. And we're trying to do a big trip every year. We got Macy's coming up, and I put out some applications for some other things as well.
Yeah, Bernard Bradley had said the other day. He said, well, he thought the big announcement was you guys saying you were going on a recruitment tour to Africa.
I wish.
South Africa, yeah. But it's coming though, right? It's coming.
Yeah, that'd be a lot more fundraising on our part. We got to do a little more money for that.
Man.
But and again, the student experience is personalized. I like to say that we give our students personalized customer service, where we don't just leave them hanging high and dry. I'm like, actually a large part of my day is dealing with maybe one or two students that need me to focus specifically on them, and I'm happy to do it. And and again, at Hampton, we treat our students like individuals, whether it's, in the recruitment process, or whether it's through the process of becoming a full-fledged member. We don't like to treat our students like robots. We want them to have a voice, and we want them to be more on a model of mentorship rather than intimidation. And again, those are the things we really pride ourselves on, and we're trying to change the culture and trying to adapt the culture to this new way of doing things in this new generation.
Yeah, I just put this comment up here. This is one of your current students, Aaliyah
So, yeah.
Pichon. There you go. And she's shouting you out, man, saying you definitely care about the kids and is in and out of the band room, like you said, man. That's awesome. Um, what I want to do here, man, we're gonna close out with love. Well, I'm not even. I was gonna keep that a surprise, man. But tell the people how can they reach you. So it's supportthemarchingforce.com. That's the best way to get in contact with you and follow the
Yeah.
band.
Well, that's for our fundraising. We also have our main website, www.humarchingforce.com. And you can contact us at hu_bands@hamptonu.edu. And then follow us at hubands on IG, and then you'll get our
Yeah.
info from there.
Follow them at hu_bands on Instagram.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So I think we can go ahead and close out with that, man. Thank you for tuning in, everybody, man. This has been an awesome interview with Dr. Jones. Nothing but great things in store. I'm already sure of that, man. So before we end, though, so fall, are you guys doing anything with the band program, or are you guys just...
I've given them modular assignments every month, so that we have certain assignments to complete every month, and they have like a social media aspect or some kind of creative aspect to them. But as far as and for the freshmen, we're actually going to be videoing our marching band commands so that they can look at the videos and then create a video of their own to demonstrate their knowledge of the commands. But Hampton is all online this fall semester, and we're not taking any risks. I should also put out that we are anticipating spring football. That's obviously, we want to look at the global situation, but provided there's a vaccine and that everything goes the way it should be, we're looking at starting up in the spring. And so what we're doing now is preparing for that.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Okay. I'll go ahead and play. Hey, thank you for being on the show, Dr. Jones. I have a couple ideas in the works I would love to run them by you along with a few other directors, man. So you on the lookout for a phone call from me, man. I think we could do something this fall. We got to keep the culture alive somehow, right?
Oh yeah.
This is a lot of stagnation, and it's gonna be crazy, man. But thanks for tuning in, everybody. Thanks, Dr. Jones, for being on. We're gonna go ahead and close out the show with one of Dr. Jones' more famous arrangements right here, man. Everybody knows this one right here. This is Love Don't Live Here Anymore. Honda Battle of Bands 2017. All right, here we go.
Under the direction of Dr. Thomas L. Jones, this is Love Don't Live Here Anymore.
That bone line, man.
Yeah, you can be able to hear the 3-point notes on it. I can do a lot of it.
Those blue wings going off.
Thank you.
Man, that ending right there, man. What made you? I mean, it's such a dark way to end it, but it fits so well.
This well, there's a bit of a story behind it, but you know, a lot of times I try to sit back and be as creative as possible and not end the songs that the same way that everybody else does.
Yeah.
You know, hit 2, 3, 4 notes. You know, but
Well, yeah.
maybe we should play that at Hampton.
That would be dope. It's yours. You wrote it. Hey man, I know your pen game is extra strong right now during this fall, man. How many songs have you written so far during this fall?
I'm actually taking a break,
What?
unwinding, decompressing, and resetting.
Any songs out right now that's speaking to you that you have in the back of your that you got stashed away?
Well, not necessarily out right now, but I have a wish list of songs that I've always wanted to write, and I list. I have a playlist, and I listen to those, and I'm eventually going to get around to it, but for right now, I think we all have to look at this pandemic in the most possible light possible. We are positive light possible, but because this it's a bad time, but at the same time, it gives a lot of people a chance to reflect and to really refocus. And for me, with everything that's been going on, it was needed because I was that type of person that was getting 3 to 4 hours of sleep a night and just going balls to the wall. And then this pandemic hit, and I get to sleep in a little bit. I get to relax, it's been beneficial to my health. And I think everybody needs to do that, not just from a physical standpoint, but from a mental standpoint. We all need a little bit of a reset.
Awesome, man. Same here. Okay, man. Look, this has been an awesome show, man. Thanks again, Doc Jones, for being on. Let's stay in touch. Everybody, thanks for tuning in, man. Thanks for commenting. Anybody who let's do it this way. Any questions? Let's end it that way. Any questions? I'm gonna give you about 2 or 3 minutes. Questions. We don't want to keep Doc Jones up all night. But any questions you have for Dr. Jones, put them in the comments. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. We got Smash Time in here. What's going on, JP? Smash Time said, "What's up, Doc Jones?" All right, Lameek said, "Where can he get that hoodie?" Okay, yes.
I got it off of Amazon.
Amazon. Okay, there you go. Easy answer. JMCCU says, "When is Ebony Fire's auditions?"
They already happened. We did auditions over Zoom last week.
Is it so that they missed out? Can they still audition, or is it too late now?
Nah, it's a little too late.
It's too late. Okay. The big announcement. So if you come late, man, the announcement that Doc Jones announced was that he will be running 5K, 3 miles, 3.1 miles every day to raise funds for the Marching Force Band program.
Yeah, and if you have a business, if you have a website or something that you can put on a T-shirt and want to get promoted, send it to me and I'll run with it. And Julian wants a scholarship. He already has a scholarship. I should deduct it.
He's about to pull that thing, Julian. Mm-hmm. All right. Cameron said, "What is your favorite arrangement? What was your favorite arrangement from 2019?"
Hmm. I would probably say, I don't know. Oh, that's a good question. Probably, hmm, I gotta think
It's
about
tough.
that.
It's tough, right?
Yeah, yeah.
All right, you can come back to it. So, Mr. C asks, any advice for an aspiring director of bands on the college level?
Yeah. Hey, always place your students first. Pick and choose your battles. That's what Dr. Ruff told me. Pick and choose your battles and understand that being a band director, being an actual band director, is much more than what you do on the podium. You know, you're 90% of your work and your stress is going to come from what you do off the podium. So just embrace it. Like we say in the Army, embrace the suck.
there you go, man. Um, come on. Will you arrange WAP? I don't know who's gonna arrange WAP, man. I'm sure it'll be
Yeah.
popular for somebody's band. I'm sure.
Yeah, one of the things with rap nowadays, you gotta have enough music in there
You
to
got to. You got to. Um, will you? Okay. Will you arrange the Scots? I don't know
I
what that
don't
is.
even know what that is.
Yeah. All right. I think that's it, man. Um, question about so you wrote several arrangements in 2019, so it's probably hard to come back to that question about
Yeah,
what your favorite was.
probably the ballad we did for Honda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, man. So look, that's that. This
Oh,
has
yeah.
been the show. Are we going to play Love Ballad next year?
Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah.
It's a lot of weeds. We must have a lot of your current students in the comments right now.
Yeah, I'd say that most of them are current students.
All right, awesome, man. Hey, thanks again, Doc, man. It's been awesome.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, so this will be back. This will be up on the channel if you want to watch the replay. If you came late, give it about an hour to finish doing its thing. It will be on, man. This has been Meet Me on the 50. This has been Dr. Jones, Director's Corner. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.